Morning folks, how you doing? Just thought I'd put another video out there wrapping up all of the things that have happened over the weekend in terms of the fight news. So I'm a little bit shocked waking up Saturday morning to the reaction to the Tyson fight. What did you think was going to happen when a 58-year-old man fought a 27-year-old man? I think people are going to be twisted and think that I was suggesting that a win for Jake Paul meant that he was a good fighter, a great fighter. Certainly don't think that. He's deluded if he thinks he is. Well, we don't know is the honest answer. We don't know how good he is because we've never seen him fight anyone of consequence. But, he did fight Mike Tyson, 58-year-old Mike Tyson, and unfortunately Mike Tyson did not get the win that we were all, or some people were hoping for. I was hoping for it, but I knew it wasn't going to happen. People are shouting fix, scripted. Why? Why do you think that when a 58-year-old man gets beaten by a 27-year-old? And you might say, okay, yeah, but 27-year-old Jake Paul is not a good fighter. Well, you don't know if he's a good fighter or not. We know he's an okay fighter because he went the distance against Tommy Fury and he knocked him down, and so he's all right. He can do that. We don't know Tommy Fury's level though, really, so it's difficult to judge. But yeah, I mean, safe to say Jake Paul is nowhere near the level of an elite fighter, probably not even near the level of a decent fighter. I mean, if he fought someone like, I don't know, Caleb Plant, he'd get smashed into next week. I think we can all be pretty certain of that. So yeah, but that doesn't matter. If he is an average boxer, which is not, first of all, it's not an insult, as Eddie Hearn said. Second of all, it's not hard to believe. I mean, the guy is pretty athletic. He's got everything intact. He's got all the skill sets. He's got the shape. He's got the frame. He's got the cardio. He's got the engine. He's got the strength. He's got the size. He's got the speed. He's got a little bit of footwork. I wouldn't say it's great. He can bang a bit. We've seen him bang a bit. So it's not hard to say that he's perhaps an average boxer, middle of the road boxer. And I just think that if 58-year-old Mike Tyson walked into any boxing gym in the world and challenged a 27-year-old, not their best, not their worst, just an average guy in the middle, average 27-year-old would probably beat Tyson. People got deluded by either watching the early clips of Tyson or the more recent clips of him hitting the pads. But this is where people they could say there's a lot that's wrong with society in that. If you get your boxing knowledge, news from TikTok, and you're seeing 30-second videos of someone hitting the pads, then you're a little bit deluded, to be perfectly honest, because a fight is not 30 seconds long. Anyone can look good and look fast for 30 seconds. It's what happens in between those 30 seconds bursts that matter when he's trying to recapture his breath. People said Tyson looked immobile. Yeah, I thought there was a bit of that, but I think as much as anything, he was just knackered. Absolutely knackered. Couldn't move forward. Couldn't keep up with Jake Paul. If that fight had been in a telephone box, maybe. But Jake Paul, as I say, bigger, faster, stronger, younger, better legs on him. All he had to do, much bigger reach. All he had to do was keep Tyson at distance. I think he was a lot bigger. I've noticed this with a few of Jake Paul's fights. The weigh-ins seem to be a little bit dodgy. If I was going to say anything seemed a little bit fake or scripted, it would be the weight on the scales, because every single time I've seen him fight someone, they've said that they're equal size, but then you see him next to each other and he's much, much bigger. Not just in the top half, but in the legs too. So I just don't see how that adds up, but who knows? Conspiracy theories are not my forte. So yeah, I think exactly what I expected would happen. I actually think Tyson went a lot further than expected. Fair play to him, went out on his shield. I predicted that he would take a knee in the middle rounds and not get back up. He actually got clobbered in the third round and managed to stay on his feet right the way through to the seventh, when he actually managed to ping Jake a couple of times. He had a bit of a comeback in the seventh round. Fair play to him, I mean, Jake says in the eighth round he could have finished him but chose not to. Maybe that's true, maybe not. Don't know. He did seem to back off a little. But again, people are getting mixed up. They think that what I'm saying is Jake Paul's some great fighter. I'm a fanboy. I'm not. I'm agnostic, to be perfectly honest. We don't know his skill set yet. As I say, I suspect that if he fought someone half decent, he'd get absolutely mullered. Carl Froch has been calling him out recently. I think Carl Froch would smash him, to be perfectly honest. If he got back in the gym and started training, I think he'd smash Jake Paul. That's controversial, especially in Wales. People don't like Carl Froch in Wales after the whole Calzaghe thing. So yeah, I think that fight went as expected. You've got to remember that Tyson 20 years ago got finished by Danny Williams and Kevin McBride, two fighters you've probably never heard of today. So that's the convenient bit. When you're watching old footage of Tyson and then the new footage of him hitting the pads, whether it's the algorithm or whether it's your own reluctance to look, people are neglecting the fact that he got smashed into next week by those two fighters that you've never even heard of today. So, and all right, I'm not saying Jake Paul is at Danny Williams level or Buster Douglas level or Kevin McBride level, but you know, it just goes to show that the Tyson that we all knew and loved was finished back then. You got to remember that with someone like Tyson, let's say compared to someone like George Foreman was a big brute of a man who carried his power and his size with him later in life. That's why he had success later in life. Even though Tyson was arguably more powerful than Foreman, more powerful than anyone, it was a different kind of power. Tyson's power came from angles, speed, footwork, ducking up and under, flurries of punches, volume punches, bang, 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 on uppercut, hooks, rarely at distance because he couldn't get the distance. You know, you'd close it in and he would just find body shots, uppercuts, and absolutely demolish people. But that came from speed. It came from footwork. It came from angles and flurries of punches and having a cardio, having the engine. Not from that brute force of, say, a George Foreman. So when people say, oh, well, the power is the last thing to go, yeah, in the case of someone like George Foreman, it is. But in the case of someone like Tyson, when it was all about speed and footwork and cardio, not the case. That's the first to go. All those things are the first to go. So it doesn't surprise me that we saw Tyson beaten 20 years ago. You know, I think his flame shone brightly, burned brightly, and went out quickly. That's the truth of it. So at 58, there was no chance. But fair play to the man. He gets my absolute credit for going the distance. Okay, enough about the Tyson Paul fight. Just to quickly wrap up, because I've seen a lot of people, commentators, talking about whether or not this is good for boxing. I just wanted to say something on that. I'm a believer that if you're an up-and-coming fighter and you're struggling to get on a card down, I don't know, local leisure centre or whatever it might be, and you're getting paid peanuts for turning up, is it really such a bad thing that Jake Paul's putting on these massive events that could be in, you know, in London, Cardiff, whatever, or you name the city, and you might get on the undercard of one of those if you're lucky enough? How is that bad for boxing or for boxers? You know, and where I also see a bit of a hypocrisy is you wouldn't mind, let's say someone like, okay, let's say Anthony Joshua, someone like that. Anthony Joshua, you could argue, is on a decline now. I mean, I don't actually know if that's true. I think Usyk just had his number. I think there's plenty left in Joshua. But let's say a few years' time, Joshua's on a decline, or any heavyweight boxer, and they come back to fight for a title. That is much more dangerous, fighting for a title against a game-hungry, up-and-coming fighter who deserves to be, or maybe someone who's already won a title, so they are actually the heavyweight champion. Seeing Joshua come back and fight someone like that, to me, is much more dangerous than seeing Joshua say, okay, there's no more belts for me, I'm done, but I can still carry on having a career in the sport that I love, that I'm good at, fighting people like, I don't know, I don't want to say Jake Paul because he's too small for Joshua, but you see my point. Is it such a bad thing if people go into these exhibition bouts later on in life and fight and see how they get on against an up-and-coming YouTuber turned boxer? I don't know. I mean, yeah, I do get that to purists, and I do have considered myself among boxing purists, although, and I did resist the UFC for a long time, but I ended up falling in love with it because they made the best fight the best. And we do see a bit of that now with this, you know, with the PFL and the Riyadh season and stuff like that. We do see massive events, lots of money on the table for up-and-coming fighters, and quite often the best fighting the best, even if it means putting Joshua in against Ngannou. I didn't expect that result, did you? I don't know. Especially after seeing Ngannou do so well against Tyson Fury, Joshua smashed him into next week and showed some of his old self. And, maybe that's a good thing that we saw that. Anyway, it's... Whether or not it's good for boxing, time will tell. I know purists are always going to say no. Whether or not that Tyson fight was a fix, etc., I don't believe that for a minute. The egos on Jake Paul and Mike Tyson are too big for either of them to write a script and sign off on it. That kind of stuff tends to get out in today's social media world as well. I heard someone, mate of mine actually, g'day Ray, saying that he thought the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather fight was scripted. I don't buy it for a minute. The egos on them are too big. If that had been scripted, one of them would have opened up about it by now. There's just no way. Why? What? You don't need to. We'd put two fighters in the ring. They're going to fight each other. And the outcome's going to be what the outcome is. And if one of them gasses and the other one takes a foot off the gas, like Floyd perhaps did, to not put themselves at risk and jab at distance, then it's not scripted. It's just clever fighting. Getting the win. Mayweather was never a big puncher. Anyway... Enough about boxing for now. Over to the UFC. And yes, Stipe came undone, as I thought he might do. Predicted that one. John Jones smashed him into next week, unfortunately. I mean, that's not quite true. He was very resilient, John Jones said to himself. There was a bit of bad blood beforehand, but John Jones was very respectful. I love Stipe. He's a firefighter, first responder. Still, he's a family man. He's a real strong. He's a hero for combat sports to me, and long may he have a career in whatever else he wants to do. But I don't think his future is going to be in MMA. He's proven everything he ever needed to prove. What an absolute legend, one of a kind, Stipe. But yeah, props to John Jones, of course. He did say before the fight that he wasn't going to fight Tom Aspinall. He wanted to fight Alex Pereira instead, who's half his size. I don't see the point of that. But after the fight, he didn't name Tom, but he kind of suggested that he would do whatever. He would sit down and do whatever the fans wanted and whatever Dana wanted. And Dana wants the Tom Aspinall fight. So it'll be great to see. But again, John Jones hasn't got anything to prove either. He did everything he could at light heavyweight. He's beaten the best ever at heavyweight. He doesn't need to prove anything. He doesn't need to fight Tom Aspinall. There again, there's another perfect example of how things like this PFL, Jones might not be able to fight for a title anymore. He might not be. He might not be at that stage of his career anymore. He might not want to fight Tom Aspinall. Fair play if he doesn't want to. But he could go off and fight someone else in one of these PFL type things. Why not? Why shouldn't he make millions for all he's sacrificed for the sport? I think he should do whatever he wants to do. And the other one to mention, can't leave without mentioning. First of all, Chandler Oliveira. I'm not going to spoil that one. I'm not going to tell the winner. Please dig it out and watch it if you can. What a fight. Absolutely brilliant. Inspirational from both of them. Love a pair of them to bits. But the name I want to talk about today is Oban Elliott, the Welsh gangster. What a legend over in New York last night on the undercard. Brilliant. The finish that he had was sensational. Try and check it out if you can. But it's his character afterwards that I find is going to turn him into a star. I genuinely believe that Oban Elliott is going to be the next big name out of Wales. He's so calm. He's so grounded. He's got a gravitas beyond his years, I think. Just seems like a cool guy, He's not all mouth. He's not showing off. He didn't shy away from the cameras like a rabbit in the headlights either. Just very grounded, very cool, very respectful to everyone in the room, including potential future opponents. Just a decent guy, and I really think that speaks to future star power. So well done, Oban Elliott. Good luck for the future, mate. Okay, that's it for me. I need another coffee. Enjoy your day. I'll see you next time. Thanks, folks.